Okay, I wanted to talk about Professor Basil J. Hiley's latest published paper that was published in January, and um, it's a theoretical update on his research, and it has to do with the emergence of space-time from a non-local asymmetric energy flow, or what would also be called a non-commutative energy flow that is non-local. And so he co-authored the paper with another physicist in honor of Louis de Broglie's 100-year anniversary. I think maybe for his PhD thesis. And so I want to discuss Basil J. Hiley's paper in the context of quantum biology. So in terms of physics, he is pointing out that Bryce DeWitt had actually published the quantum potential concept in the same journal as David Bohm to explain quantum physics in the context of relativity. So as he said, as Basil J. Hiley explains, it's a pseudo-Riemannian geometry used in relativity. And so essentially, Basil J. Hiley is pointing out that that when Louis de Broglie first was critiquing relativity from the perspective of quantum physics, but he tried to use Euclidean geometry, and then later on, when David Bohm rediscovered Louis de Broglie's concept of this pilot wave, then Louis de Broglie realized it had to be a variable rest mass in a higher dimensional conformal space. And so this is similar to the Riemannian geometry, pseudo-Riemannian geometry that Bruce DeWitt was also using. And so what Basil J. Hiley is pointing out is that this means that the quantum potential is this extra energy of the rest mass. It's an extra energy of any rest mass. And this extra energy is due to this relativistic quantum non-locality that's also non-local. So it's it's non-commutative, but so it would be superluminal, and as a quantum potential, it also means it's active information, is what Roger Penrose calls proto-consciousness. So Basil J. Hiley, he admitted in his talk on at the Mind and Quantum Conference or something like that, it was called, in Finland, that he just says he doesn't know anything about consciousness, which I know whether that's true or not, but he co-authors with a neuroscience professor from Finland, so that's why they had this conference in Finland with Roger Penrose there and Stuart Hameroff. That was a few years ago. And he pretty much presented the same information that he has in this paper here, that of course it's been clarified, and so this extra energy is a new quality of energy that's been discovered. So it's basically like a new force. It's a new non-local force and he says that, Heisenberg had first discovered this with the transition frequencies. And then Pascal Gordon developed the matrices mathematics for explaining Heisenberg's algebra. But they then just tried to make it equivalent to the Schrödinger wave equation, but so Heisenberg ended up dismissing the quantum potential as just like a unnecessary, extra mathematics. And what Basil J. Hiley is demonstrating in this paper is that that's not true. It's not unnecessary, but rather it's required. And it also changes the definition of renormalization that Richard Feynman had developed to cancel out the singularities. So it's like an extra dimension that is what they consider to be like a Coriolis effect, or when you have conservation of energy, it then rotates back into itself as a symmetry. But the issue here is that actually in Basil J. Hiley then points out that this, when you understand it in terms of the non-commutative algebra, then it applies to individual dynamics, individual particle processes, and it's no longer is it a wave function based on statistics. And so in terms of quantum biology, what this means is that you're able to, what they call, turn the light around in meditation, which is relying on the biophoton. And so when you turn the light around, you're able to then resonate this extra energy as an individual process, and it's no longer statistical, and then it self-amplifies. And so that means, as Basil J. Hiley pointed out in 2022 in his chapter on quantum consciousness in the book published by Cambridge or something. It's Cambridge on quantum consciousness, that quantum biology has been wrong up until because quantum biology has ignored non-commutativity. And so quantum biology has assumed that you lose quantum coherence as non-locality in the macro scale due to this statistical collapse of the wave function in the what's called the quantum measurement problem. And so Basil J. Hiley, he's saying that because due to non-commutativity, this is not true. There's no need to use the wave function, that the wave function is not accurate, because it's only if you decompose the wave function into the polar form, as David Bohm did, do you then separate the real and imaginary parts of the complex number to then reveal this quantum potential in the imaginary. So the imaginary number is no longer just a symmetric complex number, and it's no longer a probability, because a negative probability would not be allowed. So instead, this extra dimension is a negative frequency and time reversed non-locality that's non-commutative. So it's a spectral energy momentum that then becomes a mass density. And so in quantum biology, the whole point then is to maintain this non-commutativity into the macro scale. And that's what makes non-commutative quantum biology essentially different than any other type of science. And the only other person who figured this out besides Basil J. Hiley is Eddie Oceans, who worked at Stanford Linear Accelerator Center, and he taught Wing Chun, the martial arts that Bruce Lee was a master of. And Eddie Oceans realized the secret of the non-Western meditation as martial arts, or what's called Neigong, is actually non-commutativity. Whether it's Tai Chi or Bagua or Equan or Wing Chun or just like alchemical meditation. You also find this in India, based on the three gunas. And so I have a free book that goes into this more, called Ancient Advanced Acoustic Alchemy. And so essentially I built on the work of Eddie Oceans and Basil J. Hiley to develop non-commutative quantum biology as the secret of internal alchemy for non-Western meditation. And I'm just happy to mention that the teacher that I took classes from, the Chinese Qigong master Chen Yulin, he just uploaded a video talking about the reason that long distance healing works is because of the quantum reality. And So most Western science are just immediately dismiss this as woo, but that's because most of Western science ignores non-commutativity. So once you understand the non-commutativity, then you realize that's what makes the meditation training so different than the typical Western science, but it does not dismiss the non-Western meditation if you understand the non-commutative quantum physics that Basil J. Hiley explains. And it's not just quantum, but it's also relativistic quantum, along with spin. And of course, Basil J. Hiley's not the only one, but he emphasizes that it's non-commutative, and I've discussed this with him several times already. And he said he loved the paper I wrote on music, so that was a great compliment from him. And so I'm just real happy about his latest paper, and I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.